What's up, everybody? I'm here with the boys, Mitchell Snyder at Snyder210, and Bryce Morrow, third and schlong, here for Golf Wars to talk about the Travelers Championship. Mitch, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Excited to be in the presence of the two GOATs here, just shipping everything, winning all the monies. Looking forward to diving into this event too. No cut event, which I don't really typically like the no cuts as much, but I think there's a lot of money still to be won here and some good takes to come by.
Yeah, I mean, I'm typically a connoisseur of these no cut events, so I fucking love it. But, with the Soldiers, you kind of, it's a little different in these types of events. Although your Soldiers went 2 in the top 10 and all 3 made the cut last week, all in the top 30, highlighted by your boy Carlos Ortiz with a solid final round. He won me $100,000 in round 4. Bryce, how we feeling? I saw the big win on FanDuel. Are the vibes strong still after I left Indianapolis?
Vibes are, if anything, the vibes got better when you left because, as soon as you did, I won 100 and then you won 100. True. Highlighted by you needing a 65-foot putt to drop, Victor Hovland giving him the read for the putt, which I mentioned to you before. I was like, oh, well, Hovland's going to give him the perfect read here. Like, he should 2-putt this. And he just drains it.
That was
for what? That's what, 80K difference? That has to be like the best putt that you've ever had.
Yeah, that's
because you haven't had $1 million putt. It's hard to get better than that unless it's $1 million putt.
Yeah, needing a birdie and getting a 65-foot putt is extreme. But you put yourself in the right position often enough.
You get lucky sometimes. Thinking about the 99 times that you've had a missed like 5-footer that you needed.
Right. Like I played Taj Bradley today. That wasn't good, but it happens.
Well, this is a golf show. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about your shit ass baseball teams. You can just redeem your
WNBA last night. How about that?
Exactly. I was about to say you can just redeem yourself.
Hello, ladies. What's up? Everyone played Caitlin Clark. That was dumb.
Well, I think you got to come back to Indy and go to a Caitlin Clark game now.
That's
since
true.
you're now the country's biggest WNBA fan.
My girl Sabrina Ionescu with a solid 56 last night.
So I never play NBA. Is it like NBA, like where these studs are just going to be like 2% owned if it's like an awful matchup and they're overpriced? Because so there's what?
Clark was 55, Nafisa Collier was 71 and got hurt, and then Sabrina Ionescu was 3%.
Like, how is she ever 3%? You're only choosing what?
My winning lineup
You're
had
only choosing what, 5 players?
Team, which is another reason why it was weird.
That's a crazy win.
Yeah.
Sabrina
was cheaper. Binks the Cat. Shout out Binks the Cat. Cow Wars. But yeah, no, she was cheaper. But we will dive into the Travelers Championship, which I believe is in Connecticut. Am I right, Snyder, or has it moved?
Yeah, it's up there in Connecticut.
Okay.
Another Pete Dye track here, which is kind of unique. We've seen quite a few Pete Dye tracks. Generally on these, you want to hit towards the danger, and you'll be rewarded on your approach shot. You hit away from the danger, you're going to be left with a tough approach shot heading into the greens.
I fucking hate Pete Dye. But, at least
Firethorn's a Pete Dye track.
Bryce, how you feeling about I didn't even realize they had golf courses in Connecticut, to be honest, and they probably shouldn't.
Well, you're going to either love or hate this course by the end because winning score is going to be what? Like low 20s under par, like approaching 30 under par probably. It's just an absolute – this is friend of the program, Alex Lord in the background, trying to put on some soccer games. You're going to shoot – turn that shit off.
Oh, we got the Champions League music.
Yeah, the DAZN music for the Club World Cup. You're going to go so far under par here that like when your guys are putting in the water and putting in trouble. Yeah,
you throw a D on the end. Pete died.
If he wasn't like such a well-renowned like course director, like everyone would be making those jokes and saying like how gimmicky they are and how much they hate them, but. It's going to reward like your shorter players who putt well, and guys who like play towards the Pete Dye type of course instead of like trying to play like against the grain and be super different.
Yeah, personally, I just think it rewards people who suck, which is not really my thing. But Tony loves Brian Harmon, and he tends to benefit from these kinds of courses. Also, Patrick Cantlay, who I fucking hate. So we're gonna get a bunch of golfers that are at the top this week, but that's about how it's gonna go. We'll start with the top though. Scotty, 13,300, so not quite as prohibitive as last week. He's a plus 333 to win. He won last year, but he has not always had great performances on these types of courses. Snyder, we'll start with you. How you feel about him? How much are you playing him? What's going on?
Yeah, I think he's going to come in somewhere around 35% or so, somewhere around there. I mean, if you look at what he did last week, it was a few 5-footers he missed, and then hitting the pew bunkers every single time. It seemed like really kind of left him out to dry. Or he could have won last week. He kind of made a little charge during the weekend, just couldn't really get things going. But then you look at what he's done here at this course the last 3 years, T13, T4 last year, 2 years ago, and then last year he got the win here. I feel like Scotty's got the game to kind of overpower some of these Pete Dye tracks because he can hit. He's not afraid to hit the tough, scary shot. He'll hit it right into danger. He's such a good ball striker. I think he's going to be left with such an advantage if he can get the driver going like it should. I mean, he's been crushing with the driver, slightly lost off the tee, mainly due to the last round and the third round. He struggled off the tee and actually lost some strokes putting round 4 as well as he missed some of those easier putts. And I think we've got like the biggest difference we've seen in the markets wise, looking at Pinnacle. I mean, Scotty is quite a bit better of a play from a odds standpoint, and he's cheaper this week compared to last week. You got more salary left per guy with him this week. So I think he's just a really good, I'm going to look to play like 70-75% of them, if not just locking him. Probably won't lock him though, but I definitely want at least 2x to field on him. I think he's going to win this again and defend his title here. He's won 3 of the last 5 events. Arguably could have probably won all 5 of those. I mean, he was right there, T4 and the T7 last week. So definitely going to keep jamming Scotty. I'll be under on Rory. Hasn't really played the best here. I mean, T11, T10, T7. That's just not going to get it done at his price. So with Scotty right there as well. So I'm going to be under on Rory. And Xander is actually going to be my second favorite guy in this range. I think he's going to come in slightly a little lower owned than Morikawa because he's $600 more. But I kind of trust his game and where his game's trending right now versus Morikawa. I'm probably one of the biggest Morikawa fans. But I mean, he's just something's been wrong with his game every round, it seems like. It's just whether it's the driver, whether it's the approach game, the short game. He had his worst putting performance, I think, ever last week. Almost lost 9 strokes putting last week. And then you look at what he's done here at this track. And his game should set up really well for this, but he's actually missed the cut 2 of the last 3 years at this track. So something just doesn't really suit his eye here. T13 last year was solid, but I'm going to be higher on Xander than Morikawa. I'll probably have a little bit of Morikawa just because I always got to play him. Respects due for what he's done for me in the past, but definitely Scotty. And then I'm going to go Xander as my second guy in this 10K range.
Yeah, I mean, another thing going on with Rory, as has been documented, is that Alan Shipnuck is writing a tell-all novel about how many sluts he's banging, including Amanda Balliona. So apparently that's stressing him out. That's the word on the streets. So that's kind of why he's been, not playing as well since he won the Masters with his cheating driver. So, I kind of agree with you that the course does not really fit Rory, and he hasn't been playing well. But, he can always be in the mix just because of how good he is off the tee. But the one place I'm going to differ from you there is that I like Morikawa a lot. As with most Pete Dye courses, he's also not afraid to go at it. And if he's ever going to fucking recover, it's going to be on a place like this. But then again, Morikawa has been busting my balls for about 4 months now. So if I'm going to lose more money on him, so be it. Bryce, what do you think about these top 4? Do you feel the same as me about Morikawa, or are you saying fuck him?
So I'm probably going to be under on this whole range besides Scotty, just to get more Scotty. I've been kind of over on him like every week. Like, I mean, you've seen him be optimal, like just top 10ing because like the cheap guys have done well. So like if there are cheap guys you like, and there are cheap guys that I like this week, you know, kind of as we discussed during the US Open, he doesn't have to win to kind of get you there. Like he just has to like top 5 or top 10. And like those odds are obviously very good. So I kind of want him to be my buy. I want to be around 50% on him, which kind of naturally will cause you to sell the rest of the high range here. Like if I was playing 3 teams, I'd probably have Scotty in 2. If I was playing 1, he'd be in it. And then like if you were leaning towards like, oh, I'm either going to lock him or fade him like outright, like no in between, I would probably say lock. So, you know, it's just kind of hard for me to get away from Scotty here. You know, if he only comes in at like 30%, you know, I really do want to be like over leveraged on him. Rory, Xander, and Morikawa, I all want to be like between 15 and 20 on. I honestly don't have a ton to discern them. Like I mean, if I was picking straight up, I'd probably take Morikawa for the price, then Xander, then Rory. But you know, I like buying on Rory when no one's on him, just because like you don't have to like go like I don't know. I don't like buying on Bryson last week. You know, when he's 40%, like it's way harder to get over someone when they're that high as opposed to when they're going to be 10%. You know, and less than high stakes. So I'll probably just naturally end up higher on Rory relative to the field than the other two, just because of that.
So the next range we'll go from Cantlay down to Connors, which is the withdrawal there at 8,700. I feel like that's a good stopping point. So we'll start at Cantlay and down to Russell Henley at 8,800. Bryce, we'll start with you. I really like some of the cheaper guys in this range, but I'm wondering if you have an argument for the Cantlay and Aubert combo.
I mean, my argument for them is like that's about starting to get into the range that you can pair with Scotty and feel like not great about the rest of your team, but okay. I do prefer the bottom end of this range. I think the 3 bottom plays are the best ones here. Henley, Fleetwood, and Hovland, I want to be over the field on. Sam Burns, I'm totally fine selling. I would actually rate Straka ahead of JT this week. I don't love JT, and I never really liked JT, so that's just kind of like a long-term take I have, at least this season. I prefer Aberg to Cantlay, and I don't necessarily love either of them here. In theory, this course should play to Patrick Cantlay's like strengths, but it's just kind of hard for me to naturally get over him just because I don't love him like long term as a golfer right now. So I really think like the move is to play Scotty and then anchor your team with like one of Hovland, Fleetwood, or Henley.
Mitch.
Yeah, for me in this range, I think the million maker type player, the very large GVP type play is Ludwig. I probably won't get to him, but he's definitely going to be the guy that's probably under 10% in this range. I haven't been really playing him, so I continue to be off him. I haven't been playing Cantlay, but Cantlay's got some of the best course history here, just consistently being inside the top 15 and back-to-back top 5s the last 2 years. The game is kind of a little off compared to where it usually is. So one of these weeks, Cantlay's going to kind of pop off and win one of these events, I think, down the stretch. I just don't think it's going to be this week, so I'll be a little off on him. Under on JT, but he has played better at these easier type courses. JT's T5, T9, his last 2 trips here as well. But I think like the guys in the lower range I like as well. Sepp's probably a better play here. I mean, the only places that Sepp has struggled at this year has been the big boy tracks where you have to have a short game. He doesn't have a short game, and that's why we've seen him miss the cut at all 3 majors, because he doesn't have the short game to get up and down when it's needed in those tougher conditions. This will be a much easier test for him. I think this is a good bounce back spot for Sepp if you want to go there. And then with Burns there, I've been playing him the last couple of months. I've been talking about watching his iron play progress anywhere. I mean, back at the API, he was losing 10 strokes with the irons, and then it's kind of transitioned upwards. Was just barely losing a little bit the last few weeks, and then at the Memorial, it kind of flipped. He gained a stroke at the Memorial, ends up gaining 4.5 strokes at the RBC where he lost in the playoff. And then last week he gained 7 strokes approach. Just got unfortunate with a few tee balls, namely there at the end after it rained. Kind of got in trouble there with that debatable lie. But the iron play is back up to where we saw it at times last year. The putter is always the best. The short game's elite. So I'm still going to have some burns in there. I know the price has come up quite a bit. It's up $1,200, I think, since the last event. But he's right there for me. I'll still have some of him. And then Big Ross Henley is another guy I've been playing quite a bit this year. We saw his game peak at the API, winning that. I know one of these designated events, elevated events, kind of lost it a little bit with the putter there. Had a tough stretch there at the PGA Championship where he missed a cut. Kind of finds it there at the Memorial T5 and then T10 last week at the U.S. Open, which is there all the week. He had a couple bad rounds off the tee last week, but the putter was back for him last week, gaining over 3 strokes. He has a pretty good history at this event, too. A couple of top 20s in his last 3 starts with a T6 as his best finish here. So I'm going to be riding right back with some Russ Henley. And then Victor Hovland right there as well at 9K flat. 9K flat. We've seen his game kind of progress. The iron play is coming back. It's just all comes down to the short game with Hovland. It's been so up and down for him at times. It's cost him a lot of strokes. But last week, aside from that putter in the final round and first round, he actually had good around the green stats last week in all 4 rounds. It was a little hit or miss with the putter. Lost a stroke in that final round. But I think Hovland, this is a good spot for him. A target golf course, Pete Dye, target golf course, good setup for him. So I think Victor Hovland will be another guy I'll be high on. My favorite guy in this range, I think, is Russell Henley, though, at 8,800.
I'm aligned with you guys to a point. I do think the better plays are at the bottom. Hovland, Fleetwood, Henley, probably your top 3 guys in this range. Not really a fan of Sam Burns coming off last week. I think this is typically Bryce mentioned this to me earlier, but I agree. This is typically the type of event that somebody that just tilted off a major would withdraw from. So I think that, I'm not real, like, as much as I hate playing armchair psychologist, he's the one guy that I really do not want to back based on what occurred last week and how tilted he looked on the course. Patrick Cantlay, the course history is so strong that you kind of can't avoid playing him at least a little. The numbers are terrible. I prefer not to, but he definitely has the ability to win this, and so I can't avoid playing him. Same with Aubert. I'm going to have him a little bit. Straka, I agree. Easy course. He's going to rip it up. So you want to have him in the mix. I'm not as high on JT, but the only guy I really dislike in this range is Sam Burns. But my favorite play is probably going to be Tommy Fleetwood at 8,900. Him and Vic Hovland would be the top 2. Then we skip over Corey Connors at 8,700 due to the wrist injury from hacking out of the dog shit rough last week. I'm surprised more of them didn't break their wrist. So we'll start with the next range with our U.S. Open winner, the hero of the world, JJ Spawn, 8,600. We'll go down to Cameron Young, 7,800. So we'll go in that range, 86 to 78. We'll start with Snyder. How do you feel about this range? I know I have one guy in mind that I think is a lot better than all the others. I want to hear your take.
Yeah, I think we're probably aligned on that same guy. We've been playing him a lot the last few weeks, but at the top here, JJ's been doing a lot of like media obligations and such. And you look at his course history here; he's missed the cut here 3 of the last 4 times he's played here. So I'll probably that'll be an easy sell for me. He did his thing last week. It's hard to come and rebound off of that. So I think he's a guy I'll be off of. Keegan's right there. Keegan won this event a couple years ago in 23. With Scotty was right there as well. And Keegan's playing some great golf. He's really trying to earn himself onto that Ryder Cup team. He doesn't want to pick himself. He wants to earn his way on there, I think. So I think we're getting a lot of and this is up in the Northeast. It's near Keegan's territory. So I think Keegan's a good play. Bobby Mack's kind of getting talked up quite a bit. I think he's going to come in a little higher owned than people think. he's fine. I mean, he's got some good form coming in. This is a spot where we could see Shane Lowry kind of bounce back. Burned everyone last week, but he's had some decent success here. T19 and T9's last 2 trips. He's played pretty solid on these easier tracks, hitting a ton of greens in regulation, finding fairways. So I think Lowry's fine in this spot. Jordan Spieth's the name that's kind of getting talked up a little bit. I think I'll just let other people play him. I'm just generally not a Spieth guy. Haven't really played him much this year, so I'll just continue to be off him. We got Ben Griffin, who just continues to sun run. I mean, this dude is just going nuclear. T10 at the U.S. Open after a second and a first. T8, I feel like the crash is coming here soon, I think, for him. I mean, 8,100's a fair price tag for him. He's got decent odds, too, for that price tag. Basically pretty close to JT and Burns right there. So I'll probably have some of him mixed in there, depending on where the Sims put him at. Taylor Pendrith was a guy. I was my biggest head-to-head last week was, and a bunch of my head-to-heads was Cameron Young versus Taylor Pendrith. I went Cameron Young, and Cameron Young came.
I will say this about Taylor Pendrith, though. He was in both of our 100K winners.
Yeah.
Both of them.
I thought he was going to completely tilt that round off because I had this team like
he
all
looked
week.
so fucked on the front 9.
He shot like 3 over on the front. I'm like, he's just going to punt it, like, let's take his medicine. And he shot like 4 under on the back. Was one of the best rounds of the day. So absolutely heroed.
Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
Yeah, no, he battled strong. He punted on Saturday. That's the day he really punted. I think he shot like 78 or something on Saturday. But, I think he's a strong play under 8K. Good recent form. And then Cameron Young, I'm just going to continue to keep firing on Cameron Young. JVC got me on Cameron Young about a month or so ago. We just keep riding him. He's still under 8K too somehow after just rolling. I mean, T4, T25. I mean, he's played good in the tough conditions and good in the easier courses as well. And he was T10 here or T9 here last year. I believe Cam Young shot a 59 here last year as well on one of those rounds. I'm not sure if it was round 1 or 2 or 3, but he definitely fired sub 60 on this course. So good mojo for him coming back. I definitely like Cam Young quite a bit in this range. Probably my favorite play is Cameron Young.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a no cut.
But keep going.
That's pretty much it, though. Right down there to Cameron Young at 7,800 is my favorite play. I guess you could play some Siwoo. Siwoo on die tracks is fine. Doesn't have the best course history here over the last 4 years, but he's fine for tournaments.
I agree. Siwoo is pretty good on the dice typically. But to me, the best play in this range, Keegan Bradley, 8,500. I mean, as you said, he won here 2 years ago. He typically rips it up. It's in his wheelhouse. It's near where, relatively near to where he's from relative to most courses. There are not a lot of courses they play up there. But so I do definitely love Keegan Bradley this week. I bet him at 35 to 1 on DraftKings, dkng.co/RPS. So I don't like JJ Spawn, as you alluded to. He's got a lot going on, and he has a horrible course history, but he's also been nuking. So, I'm not going to totally fade him, but he's not like somebody I'm going to prioritize. McIntyre, I'm not as in on as maybe everybody else. I just think there are better plays out there, such as Shane Lowry and Spieth. I think they're cheaper and they're better, and I would much prefer to play Lowry and Spieth than McIntyre. Ben Griffin, I think, is a great play. I have a significant amount of Ben Griffin. Looking at my my 30 lineups or whatever the fuck it is, 28 in the $888 contest, I've got right now for Ben Griffin, I'm playing him 20% in the 888. So, I have a significant amount of Ben Griffin. I think that it's hard to avoid playing him nowadays with how well he's playing. You can play Matsuyama. Again, it's like McIntyre. I'm not going to prioritize it, but I think it's fine. Sung JM obviously started off strong last week before melting, but it's another guy who tends to play well on the die tracks, like a lot of the Korean players. So I do like Sung JM this week, significantly more than the guy that's priced the same, Taylor Pendrith. I think he can fuck off. I'm not playing Taylor Pendrith. And then Siwoo we talked about, and then Cameron Young. is the second best or second best play in this range. Him and Keegan, 7,800. He's just been ripping everything to shreds. He shot 59 here last year. I am going to stick with Cameron Young. He is in my core, as he always is, seemingly. He's become my favorite golfer as of late because he's massively undervalued, and I love him at 50-1 on DraftKings. Bryce, what do you think?
I definitely agree with you on Keegan Bradley. I think he's super strong this week. You mentioned the Northeast type of course that he loves, and I just think like a Pete Dye course like this, where it's kind of like target golf, like you're going from point A to point B, is just kind of like right in his wheelhouse with where his game's at right now. So I 100% agree with that. Spawn, probably gonna have around 5%, likely going to be a sell for me. He rode for us last week, but so the guys in this range to me seem like I would rather play them at tougher golf courses than like birdie fests. Like he falls into that, like Bobby Mack falls into that, like type of bucket for me. Like I'd rather, I guess Mateo likes Bobby Mack he likes Bobby Mack this week. He's a big fan of the Scots. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I'd much rather play birdie makers like Jordan Spieth, who are like max variance type of golf, who can go like mega low. If they're hot. I like him. I kind of like Ben Griffin for that same reason. And then how far were we going down? Cameron Young, I think you said. I like Cameron Young a lot. Sungjae, I'd rather play on a harder course personally. Same with Pendrith. Decky, I just don't think has it right now. I didn't mention Lowry, but I think Lowry's decent here. I would prefer him to like a Bobby Mack. But my favorite play in the range would be Keegan, and then my favorite leverage play in the range would be Spieth or Cam Young.
All right, we'll get into the next smaller range. We'll go from 7,700 down to let's go to 7K. Harris English, 7,700 down to Denny McCarthy, 7K. Snyder, I've got two guys, or three actually, that I'm like really specifically targeting in this range. I think that the field will be on at least a couple of them. What do you think about these guys?
Yeah, I think this is a fine spot to kind of bounce back to Harris English at the top of this range. Kind of punted the weekend there at the U.S. Open, but we've seen some upside from him. Already has a win on the year, won the Farmers earlier this year, has played this event the last 13 years, I believe, has a win at this course 4 years ago. He played good at the Memorial, T12 at the Memorial, T2 at the PGA Championship, T11 at the Truist Championship. So I think this is a good rebound spot for him. I don't think many people will be going to Harris this week. So I'll have a decent amount of Harris right there at 7,700. Easy to fit him in there, especially if you're going heavy on Scotty. I think he'll be under 10%. And then Mav's a fine tournament play. Aaron Rai has a couple missed cuts and then finished all right last week. I think this is a good setup for him. He's going to hit a ton of fairway, hit the right spots in the fairways, very accurate off the tee, hitting 75% of fairways off the tee the last 36 rounds. So I trust his off the tee game here, and hits a lot of greens as well. He can get hot with the putter of what we've seen in some weaker type field events. So I like Aaron Rai. I think this is the time we get back on Daniel Berger. I've been off him the last couple of weeks because I was watching his putter. I think this guy is putting like a donkey the last few weeks, so I haven't been playing him. And then last week, you check his stats, and he found the putter. Three of the 4 rounds, he gained over a stroke putting. So I really like Daniel Berger. I mean, the irons, the ball striking is still just absolutely on point. It was just the putter was just killing him there when he's losing 4 or 5 strokes putting every event. I mean, that's tough to overcome. And he gained 3 strokes putting on tough greens last week. So I think he might have found something, whether it was through a training or a lesson he had or something. So I'm pretty high on Daniel Berger. I think he's like 1K too cheap. I mean, at 7,500, looking at his odds and everything, he's definitely too cheap. So I'm high on Daniel Berger. I think Akshay is a good tournament play. He was T5 here last year. I think he's a great tournament play. Luke Clanton's a guy I'm not really sure how much I'm going to get to. I mean, I love the upside that he has, but hasn't really been playing the best since coming back from injury. I think this is a spot where we could see JT Poston. He was T2 here a few years ago. This is one of those easier type tracks where JT can get hot with the putter, make a ton of birdies here. So I'll have JT in the pool for sure. Haven't been playing Min Woo. We'll continue to not play Min Woo. And you look at Brian Harman. I think I heard something that he's going through some like personal stuff right now, which has kind of led to him not really performing on the golf course. You look at his recent form, it's horrible. Something, I can't remember what, I was listening to a podcast somewhere and they're talking about that Harman could be going through some personal stuff away from the course.
I want the tee.
And then, but you look at his course history. I mean, he's been top 10 the last 4 years here with a runner-up. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with Brian Harmon. I think he'll probably be close to like 8 to 12% ownership, somewhere in that range. So you can get overweight on him easily if you want. Harry Hall has been a guy I've been playing. I mean, the dude's like an auto top 25. He plays these easier tracks, pretty good too. He's great off the tee, great ball striker, can get a hot putter as well. So I'll be on Harry Hall at 7,100, a decent amount. I'm not as high on Denny as some guys, so I'll probably be under on Denny. But I'll be going right back to my guy Ryan Fox. He's a soldier this week. 2 wins in his last 5 events. Just playing elite golf, tee to green. Showed a lot of moxie winning in that playoff. I don't know how many holes they went, 3 or 4 holes in that playoff. Ends up getting it done there for his second win in the last couple of months. At the U.S. Open, he gained over 6 strokes approach after gaining 7 at the Canadian Open. I mean, the putter's been heating up for him as well. He went from losing putting 3 straight events to gaining putting in 3 straight events, including over 5 strokes gaining on the tough greens last week. So Ryan Fox is a guy I definitely still want to be buying on.
Bryce?
So once again, we get to the range where I really want to hammer. If you're playing Scotty, I think this is kind of the place you want to live in. Scotty in 7Ks has just made a lot of sense for a lot of weeks now. And, I'm not going to get off it anytime soon. So I'm likely buying on a lot of these guys. We went down to the 7/8. So I'll start with Harris English. I like his game. I think he can make birdies in bunches here. He still has an outside chance at a Ryder Cup. He wants to have a good finish here. Probably around 10% for me. Finau Scott, likely going to be slightly under. I have them around 5. Maverick McNeely, I think he's the type of guy that you want to play here just because he can get so hot with his putter and make a lot of birdies. I have him around 10. And I get to what I think are the best plays in this range, Ryan Berger. I'll have them significantly higher than the rest of these guys. But if you're playing a Scotty Rye Berger team, I would get kind of different for your last 2 or 3 golfers, just because I think that will be a common pairing. I do prefer Berger to Rye if choosing. He will be my highest owned player in this range. And then right below them, I think is the next best player in the range, Akshay. I know Snyder mentioned that he's kind of expecting him to he can go low is what I'm trying to say. I'm really looking for guys with high upside here, and I'm not really worried about the downside or perceived downside they might have in a no cut like this. So I like him a good amount. Poston is my favorite, 73 and below. I just think his game sets up well for this course. Minwoo, I prefer harder courses. Harmon, Mark mentioned that something's off in his game. I'm totally fine selling on him right now. I never need to be over on Brian Harmon. Ricky Fowler, I could see him having a good week, but I'm not going to put a ton into it. I probably have him around 5%. And then of these low 7K guys, my favorite's J-Day at 7 flat. I just think he's kind of a higher quality golfer than the rest of these guys around him. Denny and Ryan Fox would be right after him for me. I think they're pretty solid plays this week. I much prefer them to say Tom Kim, Harry Hall, Mackenzie Hughes, Ricky Fowler, Brian Harmon type of range.
I'm kind of with you guys. I think the two best plays in this range are Daniel Berger and Aaron Ride. They're both in my optimal. Daniel Berger is in my core. I think their game's fit for the course, and they're both strong ball strikers who can hit a point they're aiming at in a way that a lot of people can't. So, despite the lack of distance, I do like them here. Above that, I much prefer Maverick McNeely to English Finau and Adam Scott. So, if you're going to play somebody above them, I do like Maverick a little bit. Beyond that, Akshay Bhatia, 7,400. I really like him too. I think he's got a lot of upside on this course. We've talked about Brian Harmon. I have a lot more faith in Brian Harmon than you guys do here because despite the lack of form recently, he rips this course to shreds. Like it seems like he always is in the top 5. So like I'm going to play Brian Harmon a fair amount this week. Down there at 7,200. Fowler, Hughes, Harry Hall, I'm not really interested. Tom Kim lost in a playoff last year, so clearly he can play well here. He just has been so bad this year. I'm not quite as high on him as I maybe want to be, but I do think you need to include him in your pool. Definitely not fading Tom Kim. And then at 7K, Denny and Jason Day. I think they both have the potential to play well on this course. They're actually like very similar kinds of players. So I like them both at 7K. And then we'll go 6 to the bottom.
You playing Fox?
Let me check my in my 888 allocation. I've got one Ryan Fox lineup.
The odds aren't definitely favoring him. It's just a form thing, or
I just don't. He's typically a guy. He hits it. You know what I mean? And this is not a course where hitting it necessarily wins it for you. It's more about shot making. I don't like it very much. But we'll go from 6,900 Grazerman down to the bottom. Bryce, we'll start with you. Who do you like in the drag range, and who do you like in the mega drag range?
So I don't love the full dregs this week, which is kind of why I was talking up the 7K range. There are some guys I don't mind here, so I'm just going to highlight the ones I really like or the ones like I really don't like. Nick Taylor I really like. I think he's a very solid play. Length not an issue with him here, and you talked about shot making ability. He has it, and I think he plays really well in this Northeast style of course, like Pete Dye course. So definitely in on Nick Taylor. Next one, Bud Cauley. I don't necessarily love him on like harder challenger courses, but he can make birdies in bunches here. Definitely want to buy on him. Novak can score on harder courses, but I just think 6,700 is too cheap for him. I think he should be like mid sevens. I think like he should be priced up with like the Akshays of the world, in my opinion. So that's more of a price thing as opposed to like a course fit thing. Bezadenhout, I think just because of his ability to make putts and score in bunches, you can see him get in trouble here. I think he's kind of a higher variance type of play. Kevin Yu, just based on his pure upside here at 6,400, and then my favorite cheapie, and I might regret saying this, is Lucas Glover. The putter can be hot and cold, more often cold than hot, but he has the shot making ability that you need here. And, at 6,200, I think you could do a lot worse. That kind of rounds it out for the guys I really like. The guys I really don't like would be, I know Lord here had mentioned Wyndham Clark, but that's exactly the type of golfer I'm looking to avoid here. Just blow up prone assholes. Don't particularly like him. I don't like Homo. Never like him. Who else did I not like? I'm not crossing off a ton of guys down here this week. Like, it's a no-cut, short field. I think the guys that you really just don't want to play are like Dunlap. Like I would really try and get up to like the 6,200 range as like your cheapest guy. I could see a case being made for Eckroat at 61 would be the cheapest I'd go.
Yeah, I like some guys down here. Start with Bud Colley. I've been playing him a decent amount this year. He didn't fare too well the last two events he played, the U.S. Open and Memorial. Much tougher tests than this. He has 4 T6s or better this year, all on some easier tracks like this. Charles Schwab, a few weeks ago, he finished third. I think this is a comparable setup. I think he can do well here, make some birdies. Nick Taylor's a soldier this week. I really like how his game's transcending upwards. Had some good success earlier this year. Won the first event there in Hawaii at the Sony Open. Had a top 10 at the Genesis. That was played at Torrey Pines, though. And then he was in the top 5 at the Memorial, followed up by T13 at the Canadian Open, and then T23 at the U.S. Open last week. So he's playing some good golf. Under 7K. I love the upside. He's got a hot putter right now. He's riding, gaining over 4 strokes in 2 of his last 3 events. So I like Nick Taylor quite a bit. I love the upside that Max Grazerman has. The putters kind of went a little south on him the last 2 weeks, but that was at the U.S. Open and the Memorial. I mean, those greens are going to be much tougher than he'll see this week, where he was crushing. Charles Schwab, he gained over 3. Gained 5 at Quail Hollow, gained 2, gained 4, gained 4. So he's gaining on these easier type greens. Just struggled the last couple of weeks. I think the putter will come back for Gracerman. And the iron play has definitely flipped. And he was another guy I was watching the iron play earlier, a couple months ago, was losing strokes approach, all these events. Now he's 4 straight events gaining with the iron. So really like Gracerman. He's good off the tee, too. He can bomb it, hits fairways, too. So I'm high on Gracerman. Nick Taylor, Bud Colley at the top of this range. And then some of these other guys you can kind of just mix in, like Dietrich, Hoagie, Novak. You can mix those guys in. Ryan Gerard's got some upside for 6,700. Make some birdies. Sam Stevens is playing some pretty solid golf. Recent form-wise, he can make some birdies. 6,600 is a good price for him. He can bomb it off the tee as well. Then I'm kind of off of some of these guys. Down to I'm off of Bridgman. I think he could be a guy that gets talked up a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I'd rather go to Kevin Yu right there. Bryce mentioned him. I really like Kevin Yu. Looking at the 5 of his last 7 events, he's made at least 16 birdies, and he made 23 birdies in an eagle in his last event at an easier type track like this up at RBC, that TPC course in Canada. So I think Kevin Yu has a ton of upside at 6,400. Really helps things out when you're pairing him up with Scotty too. It kind of levels out that salary into the mid 7Ks. So I really like pairing Scotty with Kevin Yu. And I don't mind some Glover. I'll play some Glover for Bryce. The putter has been really bad from as of late, but this is a spot where he could kind of flip that. He had a T20 here a few years back. So I think Glover's fine, but my favorite plays in this range are going to be Nick Taylor, Max Gracerman, and Kevin Yu.
Yeah, totally agree. My favorite plays in this range, Nick Taylor, number 1, 6,900. The course fit is just too good. Kevin Yu is next. He's in my optimal lineup. I love Kevin Yu for 6,400, as you talked about. High birdie count is very likely. And for a guy that low, it doesn't really matter how poorly he shoots if he racks up a bunch of birdies in a no-cut event. Like Bud Colley at 6,800, any kind of shorter course, I'm going to be on him. But I'll just run through some of the guys I'm playing just because I feel like I really like a lot of people in this range, like more than the previous range. So I do like Grazerman, Tom Hoagie, Dietrich, Gerard, Novak, Stevens, Bezadenhout, Davis Thompson, Young Hun An, and then as Bryce and you both spoke about, Lucas Glover down at 6,900. I really like. I probably wouldn't go any lower than Eckroat, as Bryce discussed, but I do think you can play Eckroat at 6,100. I think that's a pretty good play. He's got some high upside and has shown it before. We'll dive into a pick 6 here before we get out of here. Let me go ahead and present here. Okay. got here? Maybe I can get it on the screen. No, that's not gonna work. Am I fucking it up? All right. We'll just go with this. 6-6 sponsored by DraftKings, DKNG.co/RBS. I'll start with myself. I like Keegan Bradley to finish better than 21.5. Snyder, what about you?
I'm going to go Daniel Berger better than 26.5.
Daniel Berger better than 26.5. Bryce?
Andrew Novak better than 37.5.
Andrew Novak better than 37.5. I will go with Kevin Yu better than 37.5. Snyder?
Let's go Nick Taylor better than 33.5.
Nick Taylor better than 33.5. Bryce, finish it up.
We need one worse in here. Who did we all hate?
Wyndham.
We all hated Wyndham. Yeah. Wyndham worse than 34.5. Fuck that guy.
Sorry, Lord.
Okay, so that's 100 to win at least 20x. Go ahead and put that in. I'll post it on Twitter after it checks my location. And so what? Now everybody, give me a favorite bet that's a little chalky to win the tournament, and then a long shot. Snyder.
If I had to pick a guy to win the tournament, I gotta take Scotty at 3-1. I think he's still got the upside. I think he's gonna go back to back at this event. But in the without Scotty market, I like Russell Henley at 30-1 to win.
All right, Bryce.
Yeah, I was looking at without Scotty Scheffler market as well here. I was going to go not Henley, but along the same lines, priced basically the same. Keegan Bradley, 30-1.
Yeah. My favorite bet to win the tournament is going to be Cam Young at 50-1. No surprise to anybody. And then if we're really, really dipping into the shitter, I do love Kevin Yu down there. I think he's 120 on DraftKings. I'd have to double check it, but
you can get him 80-1 too in without Scotty Scheffler markets, which I don't think is the worst in case Scotty runs away with this.
So love Kevin Yu. But yeah, we'll get out of you guys' hair. For Snyder, for Bryce, good luck everybody. Hopefully everybody wins $100,000. Just kidding. I hope I win it and not you. And goodbye.